So we want to start this evening on a positive, and I want to just sort of reflect on some of the positives of this week, some of the things that you've sort of achieved this week from a positive point of view, and take a moment to think about that. Just for a moment, think about some of the positives that you've achieved in training throughout the week, and you can reflect on some things you want to improve. Now, just going forward, what I want to do is the session outcomes for this evening related to the book, to this book here, chapter 5, goal setting and motivation, on 23. And what we're going to do, we're going to focus on understand what motivates you, how to prioritize activities, how to set a daily action plan, the importance of setting a weekly plan, and how to set goals and stay focused. So they're going to be some of the key areas we're going to focus on this evening. So obviously the book is on chapter 5. Have a good read during the week and take some time, guys, to focus on the goals that you want to achieve, which is sort of key going forward. Now, there's a saying we want to reflect on and focus on, that dreams will only be dreams if they're left on the shelf. So you've got to get out there and do action. The underpinning of any sports person's success is setting goals. If you're not driving your own bus, then you can be sure someone else will drive it for you. So setting goals helps you to sort of stay focused through thick and thin, through challenges, through things that we can't control, keeping ourselves really focused. The emphasis here, guys, is taking action. We need to sort of focus on taking action, guys. Now I want you to focus for a moment, for a minute or so. What is your motivation to achieve your goals in football? What motivates you to achieve the goals that you set yourself in football? Obviously, we're all here for different reasons. From the point of view, some of you are motivated for different reasons. It could be that strong desire to be a footballer, your passion for the game, or perhaps there might be people who think, well, actually, it might be a way for me financially to help me to get into a better situation. So you've got a talent, you want to go out there. Could be all of the above, but have a moment to think about it. You've got a pen and paper, you can write that down. If not, make a mental note. And what is your motivation to achieve your goals in football? Just have a moment to think about that. And as you think about what's your why, what's your driver? Why do you want it? What your why is the reason you're here early in the morning and you're not in bed. There's plenty of people at this time in the morning where you are, they're sleeping, dreaming, fantasizing about their goal of being a footballer. You're doing it. So I want to congratulate you guys on being there. You're all doers. You're go-getters. You're not messing about. There's people who'd be laying in bed who only wish they could be where you are, 5:30 in the morning, ready for action Monday morning. Give yourself a big pat on the back for that, guys. That will stand you in good stead, not just in football, in life in general too, because obviously there's people out there. It doesn't matter if you do a business, you do academic, it's the ones who do it. And, your coaches, Tony, me, we've all had many times we've sort of, gone to bed at 2 in the morning and we've got up at 5 to do work because we want to provide our sports people the best chance we can to help them. And that's the sort of key. And people are going to say, well, why are you doing it? They're not allowed to ask you how you've done it. I've said last week, be careful of criticism, because people who criticize generally are the people who want to be where you are. Okay, it's easy to sort of criticize. There's a fast track to make yourself feel good. There's an old saying I saw years ago, if you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they've got planned for you? Not much. So you've got to do it yourself. And this is going to be the focus on today, about doing it yourself, having a plan. Now, you wouldn't be where you are if you didn't have a plan. So you've got a rough idea, but I don't know how much you've sort of planned for you to move forward. And as I've said in the other lessons before, you're always welcome to drop me an email. I've got plenty of resources. I'll help you every possible way I can. Every way I can, I will help you. And your success means a lot to me. It means a lot to your coaches, to Tony, because we are in the same team. We are, what we call a footballing family. We sort of there for each other, and that's the sort of key. I'll use every ounce of my experience. Now, when you focus on football, guys, this is an important saying. Before you say yes to others, make sure you're not saying no to yourself. You're probably wondering, what does he mean by that? What I mean by that, guys, is people want you to go here, to go there. You've got friends at school who, let's go out for an ice cream. You've got other friends, let's do this, let's do that. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with leisure time. Fine. But you want to give yourself the best chance. You've got talent. If you didn't have talent, you wouldn't be where you are. Tony wouldn't bring you in if you didn't think you had the ability to work with. And the key thing is there's plenty of options out there for all of us to do many other things. Obviously, at the moment, it's a big change with the the pandemic. But equally, all that said and done, there's plenty of things you can do. And you've got to be mindful that people sort of trying to drag you everywhere. This is your time. You're young. There's no guarantees you go and be a pro footballer. But there's one guarantee, is that you got a chance at your age to give it a good go. And that's the important thing for me. I always tell people, love what you do, not the idea. There's plenty of people who love to be a footballer. The idea, they think it's a fast car, all the things that goes with it, but they don't sort of think, I want to be there on Sunday morning training or Monday. That's the key to it. What you see when you see the highlights is just a show reel. Another thing I want to say is, if plan A doesn't work, then there's plenty of letters in the alphabet. Just be patient. Find your best level. If that level is playing Premiership, great. If that level is playing NPL, great. If that level is playing, whatever level works for you, that's all that matters. Is you do. For me, success in any sport is being the best you can be under circumstances. We want to focus on time. Now, everyone's got 24/7 in a day. One thing that's equal, guys, we've got the same hours in a day. Some people might be better genetically, faster. Some people might be better physically. Some people might have advantages in different attributes, but we've all got 24/7, and how you use it is key. One thing I know about you guys, you wouldn't be where you are now if you didn't value your time. So I want to sort of get you to think about, and in the book, I talk about weekly planners. So here you're really clear. And it's a weekly planner. There's one in the book, if you get a chance to read it. And I want you to sort of plan your week, every week. And obviously you want to have leisure time, family time, study time, but you want to make sure you're very clear about what you're training. That way, a weekly planner tells you if your training is working. So if I was playing, for example, Saturday to Saturday, Sunday would be a swim recovery. Monday would be a physical session, probably still moderate. It was a heavy game. Then maybe Tuesday, conditioning session, speed on Wednesday, Thursday start tapering, Friday tactical. That's Saturday. So that was a Tuesday game, you change that. If there's sort of a Champions League game, you change that. So for example, when I was consulting, officially consulting, but one of the biggest clubs in the world, the sports scientist says, Jim, we've got an issue. The cortisol levels are really high on Thursdays. What are your thoughts? We dug a bit deeper. It was Champions League football I was playing, and obviously you've got to travel 4 hours sometimes to somewhere like Kiev, or even shorter distance to Spain, 1.5 hours to Spain, whatever, Italy, maybe 1 or 2 hours. And so the time's not too bad, but the issue is obviously, the adrenaline, if you played on Wednesday, is still pumping, the cortisol's really high. Maybe you get back to Manchester, whether you come back to 2, 3 in the morning, you go to bed, you're tired, the cortisol's still there. And we talked about ways, if they're playing on the weekend, Saturday particularly, and my suggestion was imagery visualization, because I tried other things like nutrition and that stuff. But the week plan's really key. So by having that, we sort of get an idea of what's going on, guys. So are you training hard enough? And people say to me, I've been open about this over the years. I think it might have changed now slightly, but in the UK, for example, I've always said that one of the challenges is obviously, for good reason in some respects, and maybe you could argue against it in other respects, but anyway, in Spain, they do more hours. on training than they do in England, and it's changed a bit now. But obviously that comes down to social factors like, education systems and other things that above and beyond football in terms of legislation. But there's no secret, the more you sort of put in, the more tactical you are. So you look at the Spanish players, even to this point now, you make a strong argument that they are, tactically better than the UK players, and the German players are tactically better, I think, technically anyway, than the UK players. Catching up is changing, but that comes with sort of practicality training. So I'm not saying burn yourself out and neglect your high school certificate if you're doing that. No, I'm just saying where you can, you practice, where necessary. So maybe you sort of take out that, whatever you're doing on Thursday for an hour, maybe you sort of watching Netflix on Thursday for an hour, and you need downtime. I might sort of practice my left foot or whatever. So it's the weekly plan is key. We have a saying, if it's important, you'll find a way. If not, you'll find an excuse. There's plenty of excuses, plenty of people who sit in the bar and they'll talk about how good they were when they're younger. They watch TV. I could have been this. I was better than him. I was better than her. I've heard it all before, maybe you were, maybe you weren't, but the bottom line is that there's no excuses. Planning your day is key. Okay. So, and I want you to think about it now for a moment, guys, and this is important. How many activities are you doing that are improving your football? Okay. Take a moment to think. Okay. And maybe write it down. Obviously you're here now, let's improve your football, the academy, but think about and it's a weekly planner. You go back to it and think, okay, what am I doing to improve my football, the activities I'm doing? And this is really important because before you know it, you start realizing there's a lot of procrastination here. You're doing things that don't really have any value. Now, I'm not just saying day evolves around football. Certainly not at any age. Or your age is study, really important to study, academic, do your homework, the education, family time. These are all obviously important, but the key thing is, it's those periods of time where you think, well, okay, could I be doing, my football? So you might watch a game, Premier League game on TV, you've watched one, and it's time for you to get to work and do your own stuff, or how you're watching the game. Now, for you at your age, you want leisure time and watch the game easily, but you want to watch it and study it. And I said before, if you were playing against a player, how would you play against him? Or her, if, for when women's football is concerned. And the point being is, how would you play against that person? So you're not watching, say, Ronaldo, just admiring him, thinking, oh, look how great he is. You're watching him thinking, what would I do if I'm against him? How would I play? And these are the key things to football activity. It all adds up. The people who say you can't are the ones who are probably scared. I'm afraid, to say there are some people I can't figure out why. I've spent a lifetime trying to figure it out. They don't want people to do well. They're out there. We've had this conversation philosophically before with managers, coaches, and this is the way they are. I think the reason they do that is because they know they can't do it themselves and they don't want anyone else to do it. So if people say to you, you can't do it, it's probably because they don't think they can do it. No one who's at a high level is going to tell you you can't do it. I guarantee you now, if someone like Mitchell Duke, and I don't know Duke well, Tony's obviously knows him, really, really well. And I only know him from when I saw him when he was a youngster. And I visited the academy and I said to Tony, what a good player that lad is, and a good lad as well. But I guarantee someone like him is not going to come to you and say, you can't do it. I guarantee many players I know who I work with, my stable lads, they won't say you can't do it if they're there, because they were where you were one day as well. A lot of them, basically making their way in the game. Start every day fresh, see the opportunity. Sometimes you wake up, you don't feel 100%, there, and it's every day seizing the moment, guys, and thinking, well, okay, tomorrow's a fresh start. What can I do? So we're going to do like an outcome planner that you can do the day before. And I'll send you this presentation, by the way, during the week, and a lot of this stuff's in the book, but you've got to plan your day. When you plan the day, I want you to think of 5 things, guys, that you're going to do today to give yourself the best chance to be the best footballer I can be. Okay, you don't have to write it down just yet. If you want to write it down, you can. If you can't think of 5, it's okay, as and when you can. But think of 5 things you can do. It could be gym, seminar, reading the book, speaking to Tony, the coaches, how can I improve my left foot, watching a video in football. 5 things you can do. Why 5? Because it's a ballpark figure. You can maybe do 10, you can do 2. What matters is you're moving forward. Every day, if you're a top player, you're thinking this way. What can I do to move forward? You're not looking back. You're looking forward. If you look back, what happens is, you know, your shirt on the dressing room, someone takes it off and puts their shirt on. Okay, you're not looking backwards as a player. We're looking forward. Okay, a week in football is a long time, you know. And people you've got to reach out to, no matter what. So someone, you've got to speak to Tony. You might be shy to speak to somebody and think, I don't know, I feel like I'm sort of admiring you know, you've got to reach out to. You might think, oh, I don't know if I should email Jim. Email me, fine. I feel that way sometimes, guys, when I'm making my way in the game. When I was, should I call this manager who's, you know, should I call Premiership manager? Should I call this player back? And you watch him on TV, you think, wow, you know, what should I do? But you do it. Because I've said before, you're not in awe of anybody. You respect them, we admire them, but not in awe, because there are things you can do, they can't do. Things, you know, they can do, you learn. And you make your way in their game, it's fine. We all have to start somewhere. It's okay. And like, you need something from them to move forward. It might be a training program. You know, people email me sometimes. They say, oh, Jim, you know, I asked you last week for a training program. And like, oh, you know, generally speaking, I'm on the ball, but it might be okay. I didn't write it down, or it might be that it got into spam folder, things like that. And sort of reach out. You know, your priorities are key. Things you got to do today. And I'm not saying for today, I'm saying generally speaking in life, you know, things you need to complete today no matter what. Core stability session, sprinting session, practice left foot, set my goals, which is in the book. You got time to do it. You got to do no matter what, which is key. It's that first step in the 1,000-mile journey. Think about your distractions, guys. You know, phone calls, people want to phone you up and talk about, you know, the latest series on Netflix, and personal emails. They want to do Messenger. They want to talk about nonsense, irrelevant time meeting. And you ain't got time for that. You're going to be a top footballer, I'm afraid. That can come after, you know, when your career is finished, you got, you know, but when you're sort of trying to build your career, I'm not saying cut everybody off and be a, you know, I'm just saying there's a lot of distractions. That 20-minute phone call talking about, you know, nothing could be a training time, or you speaking to someone who's going to help you go where you want to go. I'm not saying, you know, obviously ignore people. It's important that we have friends and social, but you got to be key. You know, these are distractions. They sort of clog your brain. They're not good. You got to be very clear about where you're going. You know, some people got too much time on their hands, and you eliminate the low value task. It was consuming your energy. You know, some people, they worry about things that just, they're low value tasks. You know, you got to let it go. It was wasting your energy. And the way to do that is get around people who want the same things as you, which you already are. You're in a great team, great lads. That's the key, you know, to be around people. Now, I want to think about this time next year. And it's something you can do afterwards too, because I'm mindful of time, and you've got to get out there and train. And think about this time next year. If you write a letter to yourself, you know, and you can maybe visualize it if you want to, if you haven't got a pen and paper, and think, where would you want to be this time next year? Okay, if you were to write a letter to yourself, and I've done this with a lot of managers in the game and football, they'll say, imagine writing a letter to yourself this time next year. You know, where do I want to be? What do I want to be doing? There are going to be hurdles and obstacles along the way, but equally we can try and navigate them best we can. So I think this time next year, Think where you want to be, whether that's in the, on trial with a club somewhere in Europe, or whether that's winning the NPL championship or having an A-League. I don't know what your plans are, in terms of where you want to be, but think, where do I want to be? Where do I want to be sitting this time next year, say October the 25th, 2021, where, if I was to open a letter, and what would I be doing? So you could be, for example, I'm in a restaurant eating with a football manager, with my football friends. We've gone for a bite to eat. And why would you do that? It's because you project to where you want to go. Okay, you get to focus on where you want to go. But that on its own, you've got to take action. If you don't take action, then you won't get anywhere. Now, I'm going to ask you some questions. You have to know all the answers to the questions. This is sort of prime your brain. I'm going to really strongly recommend you read the book and the worksheets when you can. If you can email me if you want to. If this is a recording, I'll record it too. And by the way, a lot of the stuff I'm doing with you is exclusive to you guys. There's going to be the occasional thing I'll put out on social media, and I'll do that. And the only reason I'll do that is to sort of, show what we're all about. Because I'm proud of this academy, what Tony's put together, and I'm proud of my involvement in there. And that's the reason for doing it. If I do put anything out there, but a lot of stuff that we cover is in-house. It's about us going to where we want to go. So you think about, where are you now? So at the academy, whatever team you're playing for, where do you want to be? And that could be, if you're NPL 1, maybe the top league. It could be NPL 4, NPL 1. It doesn't matter. It could be, I want to be in the Premier League ultimately. I don't know. Be focused. It's like years ago, I've said this story before to Tony, that when I came to the talk to the academy, I think it was in 2003 or 4. No, it might have been later than that, sorry. Probably 2007 or 8. Losing track of the years now. But anyway, I come to talk to the academy, and I told him about, I was working at Bury, and there, and there was a lad, and I said to him one time, this was in League 2, I said, where do you want to be? And he goes, where are you now? Obviously at Bury. And he goes, youth team. I said, what do you want to be? And he goes, I want to play Champions League and play international football. And ironically, one evening, this is true, I think it was 2007, no, it was 2008, because I think it was Nathan Hall, this other lad that I know in Australia, been to the UK and visited me here. And he goes, tell the lads about, that lad. And I said, why is that? And he goes, he's playing tonight in the Champions League. I'm sure it was him that mentioned that. And I said to the lads, yeah, watch the Champions League tonight. And they watched it, and he scored against Chelsea, Fenerbahce against Chelsea, and they won 2-1. Colin Kazim Richards, he went on to play for Turkey as well. He chose to play for Turkey, he played in the Euros. But I just use that because it's strange how the world works, I'm not trying to say he made it because of me. That's, stupidity. But I'm just saying to you, it's funny how things work. You can be League 4 1 minute, and then 2 years later, bang. Who knows? And I'm not trying to pretend that it's easy. I'm not saying it's easy to make in football. It's not easy at all. But find your level, and think about these. Where do you want to be? What are you going to do making forward? Focus is the key. And there's going to be some key things I'm going to sort of shout out to you before you get out there. So you've got to list what you want in positive terms, because the mind doesn't process the negative really well. It can process the negative not really well. So what do I want? And if you haven't got time to write it down, it's too fast for it's okay, because you'll be able to go back over it anyway, when you've got time to really think about it. This is the key to this seminar, is to sort of to fit in where you need to get you going. Attainable and action. Do you believe it's attainable? What action I need to do? Okay, so you got to think, okay, well, if I'm here, if I want to go there, it might be one bridge too far if I go to the next level. And that's the sort of key. And this is really important, this part here. All I see, I call this the laser approach. I teach athletes, teams, business people, everything. All I see, hear, and feel. It's like when you hear the footballer say, I dreamt it. I dreamt playing in the stadium. They don't say, I wrote my goal. So all you see, hear, and feel. okay, when you've got the goal? How will it feel like when you're playing at the level you want to play at? Or will you see, or will you hear? The consequence of getting your goal, everything has a price to pay. And what I mean by that, are you willing to pay the price in the sense that putting the time in, the sacrifices you've got to make? I said earlier, people like the idea of doing it. There's plenty of people in bed now at 5:30, 5:35, whatever it is, dreaming of doing it, sleep, you're here, you're doing it. Everything's got a payoff. But then you look back in 20 years, whether you sort of go and play at the level you want to or not, that's anybody's guess. There's many permutations in football. But one thing's for sure, at least you can say and look at yourself in the mirror, I gave it all I got. And you transfer the skills across. And think of the resources you've got. Yourself is a big resource. Top coaches, at the academy, Tom, myself, your responsibility in doing it. In the end, it's your responsibility. No one can do it for you. You can hire the best personal trainer in the world. If you don't do the training, you don't get very far. You got to do it. And the road to get there. What do I need to do to get there? And that's why you ask and you hang around people who are where you want to be. Look around, ask around. That's the key. A couple of final points before you get out there. Balance your life out for sure. Family time, really important. Career, health, friends. Make time for that too in your weekly planner. Academia is really important, guys. Make sure you study hard and learn and do the grades at school or college or whatever you've got set to do. Do all that. Make time for friends, family. When you have dinner with the family and sort of be there, be present, be with them. Look after yourselves as well. Don't overtrain. Make time for all that. But when it's time to do what you have to do, you have to do what you have to do. I have a saying I've used for a long time. Attitude's contagious. Yours worth catching. Be the sort of person that you aspire to be now. That's really important stuff. In the end, it's talent will take you so far. Your attitude's going to do the rest. I've seen many a top footballer in my career, talent-wise, who's not gone on to make it. And I've seen players who didn't have the most talent. And you can hear them on radio. When I interview plenty of sports people on radio, you probably heard me on radio, interview sports, many different people across different disciplines. And you'll see quite often, you need talent, but in the end, it's the attitude is the key to it all, guys. And this is sort of my social media outlets if you need it to get in touch and that sort of stuff. And I'm going to save this presentation and sort of send it across too, and obviously have what we were doing. So on that note, guys, it's been fantastic. It's been a great session. I'm mindful that so I want to thank you guys for this morning, and I want to congratulate you for taking the time to focus on your career, focus on your goal. And, it's a privilege working with you guys. I've worked with many people over many years. You guys are a fantastic bunch of lads, and I'll do everything I possibly can to help you prepare to be the best footballers you can be, and hopefully you can transfer that across. So thanks, guys. It's been a great session, and drop me an email any time if you sort of need anything in terms of resources, guys.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thanks.